Everything you thought you knew about coming to Canada is changing, and it is happening faster than most people realize. Right now, behind official press releases and carefully chosen government language, Canada has begun reshaping its immigration system for 2026 in a way that will directly affect students, workers, visitors, and families across the world. This is not a rumor. This is not a future proposal. The policies are already moving through implementation channels, and the consequences are real, measurable, and unavoidable. If you are planning to study, work, visit, or settle in Canada, what you do not know at this moment could cost you your opportunity entirely. Canada is no longer operating under the same immigration logic that defined the last decade. For years, the country expanded entry pathways to support economic growth, population targets, and labor shortages. That phase is now ending. Rising housing pressure, healthcare strain, public infrastructure overload, and political accountability have forced the federal government to recalibrate. The result is a controlled tightening of immigration rules, not a shutdown, but a strategic restriction designed to reduce volume while increasing selectivity. This shift affects every visa category without exception. The most immediate and dramatic impact is on international students. Canada has formally acknowledged that the previous student intake levels were unsustainable. For 2026, study permit approvals are no longer based solely on admission letters and financial proof. A national intake cap system has been activated, allocating quotas by province and institution type. This means approval is now a competition, not a guarantee. Even fully qualified applicants with strong academic records are being refused simply because the provincial quota has been filled. Private colleges and low-outcome institutions are facing severe reductions or complete exclusion from international student allocations. If an institution does not meet graduate employment benchmarks, housing coordination standards, and compliance reporting requirements, its students face higher refusal risks, regardless of individual merit. Financial requirements for students have also changed fundamentally. Proof of funds is no longer evaluated at face value. Officers are now instructed to assess financial sustainability over the entire duration of study, not just the first year. This includes scrutiny of income sources, consistency of funds, family financial history, and real-world affordability in Canadian cities where rent inflation has surged. Applicants relying on borrowed funds, short-term deposits, or unverifiable sponsors are facing immediate refusal. The message is clear. Canada is filtering students not only by academic ability, but by long-term economic resilience. Work authorization for students is also being scaled back. The temporary policy allowing extended off-campus work hours is being phased out. In 2026, work limits are returning to stricter enforcement, and violations are being digitally tracked. Unauthorized work, even minor overages, now carries consequences that extend beyond the study permit, including future visa ineligibility. Post-graduation work permits are no longer automatic for all programs. Eligibility is increasingly tied to labor market relevance, field of study, and regional workforce demand. Graduating from a non-priority program may no longer lead to open work authorization. Foreign workers are facing a parallel tightening. Canada is redefining what qualifies as a labor shortage. Temporary foreign worker program approvals are now being evaluated against regional unemployment data, wage growth indicators, and domestic training capacity. Employers must demonstrate not just the absence of Canadian workers, but active participation in workforce development. Labor market impact assessments are taking longer, being approved less frequently, and are subject to random audits. Employers found misusing the system are being banned at higher rates, and workers linked to non-compliant employers risk losing status even if they followed the rules. Wage thresholds for work permits are rising sharply. Low-wage streams are being restricted to specific sectors with verified essential status, such as agriculture and healthcare. General service roles are being phased out of eligibility. This change directly affects thousands of applicants who previously relied on entry-level positions as their pathway into Canada. For 2026, work permits are increasingly reserved for specialized, skilled, or regionally critical roles. If your occupation does not appear on updated priority lists, your approval chances drop significantly. Open work permits are no longer as open as before. Spouses of foreign workers and international students are now subject to eligibility filters based on the principal applicant's occupation, wage level, and permit duration. Not all students or workers can bring a spouse with open work authorization anymore. This policy change is already causing family separation scenarios that were previously rare. The assumption that Canada allows flexible family accompaniment is no longer universally true. Visitors are also being affected, even though the changes are quieter. Visitor visa approvals are now being assessed with a stronger presumption of intent enforcement. Officers are instructed to aggressively evaluate whether an applicant might overstay, work illegally, or attempt to transition to another status without authorization. Travel history, age, employment stability, and country-specific overstay data are heavily weighted. Multiple entry visas are being issued less frequently, and shorter validity periods are becoming common. Even applicants with prior Canadian travel history are not immune to refusal. Electronic travel authorizations are under increased scrutiny. Automated risk-scoring systems now flag applications based on behavioral data patterns, not just declared information. Small inconsistencies, previously overlooked, can now trigger secondary review or denial. The system is faster, stricter, and less forgiving. Permanent residence pathways are undergoing one of the most significant restructurings in recent history. Express entry is no longer a general skilled worker gateway. It has transformed into a targeted selection mechanism driven by category-based draws. High comprehensive ranking system scores alone are no longer sufficient. Applicants outside priority categories such as healthcare, trades, STEM, or French language proficiency may wait indefinitely without receiving an invitation. General draws are becoming rare, and the government has made it clear that economic alignment now outweighs fairness-based scoring. Provincial nominee programs are also tightening. Provinces are under pressure to reduce overall immigration volumes while meeting specific labor needs. This has resulted in smaller nomination quotas, narrower occupation lists, and stricter employer endorsement requirements. Applicants who previously relied on provincial pathways as a fallback are now encountering higher rejection rates and longer processing times. Family sponsorship is not exempt. While Canada maintains its commitment to family reunification, processing caps and backlogs are increasing. Financial eligibility thresholds for sponsors are being enforced more rigorously, and application integrity checks are intensifying. Even minor documentation errors can lead to delays or refusals. Parents and grandparents' sponsorship remains highly limited, with lotteries offering no certainty of selection. Behind all these changes is a new enforcement posture. Compliance monitoring has expanded dramatically. Immigration officers now have access to integrated data systems that cross-reference tax records, employment data, educational enrollment, and border entry history. Violations that once went undetected are now being flagged automatically. Status misuse, misrepresentation, and overstays carry harsher penalties, including multi-year bans that apply across all visa categories. Another critical shift is regionalization. Canada is actively redirecting immigration away from major urban centers. Applicants willing to live and work in smaller communities may find more opportunities, but these programs come with conditions. Residency obligations are enforced more strictly, and early relocation to major cities can jeopardize status or future applications. Regional programs are not shortcuts. They are contracts with expectations and consequences. The language of Canadian immigration has also changed. Where policy once emphasized openness and opportunity, it now emphasizes balance, sustainability, and control. This does not mean Canada is closing its doors, but it does mean those doors are narrower, monitored, and selectively open. Applicants who rely on outdated information, informal advice, or assumptions from previous years are at serious risk of refusal. For students, this means choosing institutions carefully, securing genuine financial backing, and aligning education plans with labor market demand. For workers, it means verifying occupation eligibility, employer compliance, and wage thresholds before applying. For visitors, it means demonstrating undeniable ties to home countries and respecting the temporary nature of the visa. For permanent residence applicants, it means adapting strategies to category-based selection and regional priorities. The most dangerous mistake in 2026 is complacency. Many refusals are not due to lack of qualification, but lack of awareness. Immigration policy is no longer forgiving of errors, delays, or weak applications. Every document, every declaration, and every choice is now evaluated through a risk management lens. Canada's immigration system is entering a new era, one defined by precision rather than volume. Those who understand this shift and adapt quickly still have opportunities. Those who ignore it may find themselves locked out without warning. The alert is real, the changes are active, and the impact is immediate. Stay informed and stay prepared. Subscribe and follow for verified Canada immigration updates.